Dr. Amelia Richardson did not expect her Tuesday afternoon to become a masterclass in corporate discrimination, but the moment she stepped onto the polished marble floor of Premier First National Bank, the air shifted. She adjusted the lapels of her navy Armani blazer, her fingers brushing against the heavy gold of her family heirloom ring, and walked toward the high-end counter reserved for premium account holders. The digital clock mounted on the walnut pillar read precisely 2:52 p.m., leaving her exactly 8 minutes before the annual executive board meeting upstairs where she was scheduled to give the keynote address. Sliding her driver's license and a set of immaculate corporate authorization papers across the counter, she looked directly into the cold, calculating eyes of the branch manager, Jessica Sterling. Jessica, a woman whose 15-year career at the bank was built on a foundation of rigid compliance and an unshakable belief in her own ability to profile customers, didn't even look at the documents. Instead, she let her heavily manicured fingers drum a slow, patronizing rhythm against the stone surface, while her gaze traveled slowly down Amelia's face, assessing her skin color, her natural hair, and the quiet dignity of her posture. "Ma'am, people like you don't typically have accounts at this specific location," Jessica said, her voice dripping with an icy professional condescension that cut through the quiet hum of the lobby. "Perhaps you would feel significantly more comfortable and better served at our community branch across town, the one near the industrial district where they handle basic checking services for walk-in clients." The words left her mouth with a casual cruelty that made the air between them grow thick. Amelia didn't blink, nor did she lower her head. Throughout her decades-long climb to the top of the financial world, she had encountered this specific tone in country clubs, airport lounges, and international boardrooms. It was the soft, bureaucratic face of prejudice that assumed a black woman in luxury clothing was either lost or operating an elaborate scam. What Jessica failed to notice was that just 5 feet away, near the corner, ATM, a college finance student named Emma Chen, had been filming a TikTok video about campus banking tips. The moment Jessica's voice carried across the lobby, Emma's instinct as a modern digital native kicked in. She subtly tilted her phone camera toward the main counter, initiating a live stream that would rapidly transform an entire multi-billion-dollar institution. Within seconds, the viewer count on Emma's broadcast began to climb exponentially from dozens to hundreds, capturing a live, unedited look at corporate discrimination unfolding in real time. Amelia looked down at her platinum Patek Philippe watch, noting that she now had 7 minutes to resolve what should have been a standard transaction. "I need to withdraw $50,000 in cash immediately from my personal asset account to complete a time-sensitive tuition payment for my daughter's university," Amelia explained. Keeping her voice completely level, melodic, and devoid of the anger that Jessica was clearly trying to provoke. Jessica didn't even pick up the driver's license. Instead, she leaned back slightly, offering a patronizing smile that didn't reach her eyes. "An amount of that magnitude requires an extensive, multi-layered verification process, Ms. Richardson," Jessica stated, intentionally misusing the title to diminish the woman before her. "We have highly strict fraud prevention protocols designed to protect our legitimate clients from unauthorized activity, and certain profiles, unfortunately, trigger our security flags automatically." The implication hung in the air like heavy smoke, a clear and direct accusation that Amelia's presence, her wealth, and her very existence were fundamentally suspicious. The tension within the premium banking suite continued to intensify as the digital clock moved inexorably toward 2:53 p.m. Amelia remained perfectly still, her spine straight and her hands clasped elegantly in front of her, exuding a profound aura of quiet power that seemed to disorient the manager. I have provided my valid state identification, my master account number, and the secondary corporate authorization codes required for high-value cash transactions. Amelia noted her voice remaining steady and clear. Please tell me exactly what additional verification you require under the bank's written compliance guidelines so we can expedite this matter. Jessica's smile tightened into a thin, defensive line as she realized this customer was not going to be easily intimidated or dismissed by corporate jargon. Large cash withdrawals naturally require comprehensive managerial oversight to ensure the underlying funds are not questionable or connected to illicit activities, Jessica replied, her voice rising just enough to ensure the surrounding staff could hear her, asserting her authority. Behind the main counter, a young teller named Sarah Martinez leaned toward her senior colleague, her eyes wide with sudden recognition. Isn't that the woman from the front page of the Forbes business magazine last month? The one who just orchestrated the major tech merger, Sarah whispered urgently. Her co-worker barely glanced up from his terminal, shrugging with a careless indifference. All these high-powered professional types look exactly the same to me. Just let the manager handle it. Jessica, growing increasingly annoyed by Amelia's unyielding composure, pressed a hidden button beneath her desk console. Within 30 seconds, Marcus Williams, the bank's lead security guard, entered the lobby area. Marcus, a young black man who took immense pride in his uniform, felt his stomach drop the moment he observed the scene. He had worked at this branch long enough to recognize the pattern. He had seen Jessica use this exact script on multiple occasions, always targeting minority clients who dared to question her authority or bring substantial assets into the building. Marcus stepped forward slowly, his boots clicking softly on the marble, his heart heavy with the realization of what he was being asked to do. We have an unresolved situation involving an irregular high-volume cash withdrawal request, Jessica announced loudly, ensuring her words created an aura of criminality around Amelia. Marcus, I need you to stand by and monitor this individual closely while we conduct our formal verification process to ensure the security of our branch. Marcus looked at Jessica, then turned his gaze toward Amelia, expecting to see fear, anger, or confusion. Instead, he met a pair of calm, deep eyes that seemed to look right through him, acknowledging his position without a single shred of resentment. "Thank you, Marcus," Amelia said gently, reading his name tag with a polite nod. "I am simply trying to complete a routine financial transaction before my afternoon commitments, and I appreciate your professionalism." At the corner, ATM. Emma's phone screen was rapidly filling with a chaotic blur of live comments as the stream viewer count crossed 5,000 people. The digital audience was expressing pure outrage, demanding names, calling out the blatant bias, and sharing the broadcast across major social media platforms. By 2:54 p.m., the atmosphere inside the premier branch had transformed from a quiet financial institution into a highly charged theater of social accountability. Jessica returned her gaze to her computer screen, her fingers typing with a deliberate, agonizing slowness that was clearly intended to waste Amelia's remaining time and force her to lose her temper. "I will need to contact our regional compliance supervisor to review the origin of these specific funds before I can authorize a payout of this size," Jessica lied, never looking up from her monitor. Walk-in customers simply cannot expect to walk away with $50,000 in physical currency without an exhaustive background check. Walk-in customer. Amelia repeated, her left eyebrow rising just a fraction of an inch as she maintained her focus on the manager. I have maintained my primary and secondary accounts with Premier First National for over 12 consecutive years, and my transaction history is fully documented in your system." Jessica offered a soft, patronizing laugh that made Sarah Martinez flinch behind the counter. "Of course, but in today's highly sensitive regulatory environment, we must be extraordinarily vigilant regarding large cash movements to prevent money laundering, terrorist financing, and the integration of illicit drug proceeds into our financial network." Each word was chosen to wound, an accumulation of insult designed to humiliate Amelia in front of the other affluent customers who were now pausing their own transactions to watch the confrontation. Amelia felt the warmth of indignation rising within her, but she channeled it into absolute stillness, her expression remaining as serene as a calm ocean. Her phone vibrated inside her purse, displaying an automated notification: board meeting, commencing in 5 minutes in Executive Conference Room A. She looked at the screen, then at Jessica, and finally at the surrounding crowd of onlookers who were now openly holding up their own devices. A precise strategic plan was taking shape in her mind. "Ms. Sterling," Amelia said, her voice dropping into a register of silk over steel that commanded immediate attention. "In your 15 years of service with this specific financial institution, have you ever had a formal customer service complaint or a civil rights violation filed against your record?" Jessica's hands froze over the keyboard for a single fleeting second before her defensive confidence returned. "I maintain the absolute highest professional standards of Premier First National Bank, and I am merely executing our standard security protocols to the letter." "I am entirely certain you believe you are doing so," Amelia countered smoothly, her gaze locked onto Jessica's defensive eyes. "And I am equally certain that you are fully aware of our strict corporate mandates regarding non-discrimination, racial bias, and equal consumer treatment in public accommodations." The lobby had fallen completely silent, the background music seeming to fade away as every eye focused on the two women. Other customers were now whispering among themselves, realizing that this was no longer a simple disagreement over bank policy. The digital clock clicked over to 2:55 p.m., and the live stream on Emma's phone was now rapidly approaching 10,000 concurrent viewers, with the comment section moving too fast for the human eye to read. People from across the city and the country were sharing screenshots of Jessica's name tag identifying the branch location and tagging the bank's corporate headquarters in a massive wave of public relations outrage. Jessica, feeling the collective weight of the room's judgment, began to flush a deep crimson, her defensive instincts driving her to double down on her mistake. "I am absolutely not discriminating against anyone in this building," Jessica asserted, her voice rising to a sharper defensive pitch that betrayed her growing anxiety. "I treat every single person who walks through those glass doors with the exact same level of scrutiny and professional standard." "Of course you do," Amelia replied, her tone remaining completely conversational as she reached into her luxury handbag. "Marcus," she said, turning her attention to the security guard who was still standing uncomfortably nearby, "in your 3 years of dedicated service at this specific branch, have you observed a consistent application of these intensive security verifications across all demographic profiles?" Marcus shifted his weight from one polished boot to the other, his jaw tightening as he caught the warning look Jessica shot him. "Company policy strictly prohibits employees from discussing internal operational matters or security procedures with outside clients." "Ma'am," Marcus said, his voice laced with regret, because every fiber of his being wanted to stand up for the woman before him. At that moment, Derek Thompson, the assistant branch manager, emerged from the glass-walled executive offices at the rear of the building, sensing that a major crisis was unfolding on his floor. "What exactly seems to be the operational bottleneck here?" Derek asked, attempting to project an aura of calm, diplomatic authority as he approached the counter. "We are currently processing an unusually large cash withdrawal request that lacks the necessary verified secondary documentation for immediate release," Jessica stated quickly, repeating her pre-established narrative to gain her colleague's support. Derek looked at the paperwork on the counter, then looked up at Amelia, taking in the unmistakable quality of her designer clothing, her fine jewelry, and the absolute lack of panic on her face. A cold wave of professional discomfort washed over him as he realized Jessica had likely walked into a legal minefield. "Ma'am, I want to personally apologize for any minor administrative inconvenience this review might be causing you," Derek said, trying to soften the blow. "If you could simply exercise a few moments of patience while our security desk completes its validation." Amelia checked her watch one final time, noting it was now 2:56 p.m. Perhaps Jessica interjected, her voice carrying a smugness she could no longer conceal. "You could return to this branch tomorrow morning accompanied by proper professional references or a recognized character witness who can personally vouch for the legitimacy of your financial status." The delivery of the insult was executed with a calculated precision that left no room for misinterpretation. And in that precise moment, Amelia made her final, strategic decision. It was time to remove the veil of corporate anonymity and show these individuals exactly who they were attempting to humiliate. The crowd of customers surrounding the premium teller counter had swelled with multiple people openly recording the entire interaction on their devices. Emma's live stream had now shattered 12,000 viewers, with prominent financial journalists and local community leaders joining the broadcast, demanding immediate accountability from the bank's corporate communications office. At exactly 2:57 p.m., Amelia stood perfectly centered, her presence dominating the marble lobby. "Ms. Sterling," she said, ensuring her voice resonated clearly to the furthest corners of the high-ceilinged room. "I want to be absolutely unequivocally certain that I fully comprehend your current professional position. You are actively refusing to process a legitimate, fully authenticated withdrawal from my personal asset account because you have chosen to question the legal source of my wealth based entirely on your personal assumptions." Jessica's face darkened as the directness of the question stripped away her bureaucratic cover, making her appear small and exposed. "I am not refusing anything of the sort. I am strictly adhering to federal bank policies regarding the identification of potentially suspicious or anomalous transactions." "Suspicious?" Amelia questioned, her tone carrying an edge of genuine intellectual curiosity. "Based on what specific quantitative criteria listed in our operational handbook?" "Large physical cash volumes and highly unusual withdrawal patterns from accounts that do not typically see this type of activity," Jessica stammered, her voice trailing off into an uncertain whisper as she suddenly realized she was walking into a beautifully constructed legal trap. "Tell me, Ms. Sterling, what exactly is anomalous about my specific withdrawal pattern? Please be remarkably specific for the record." Derek Thompson stepped forward, his heart pounding against his ribs as his 15 years of banking experience screamed at him that they were standing on a catastrophic legal landmine. "Ladies, perhaps it would be infinitely more appropriate and productive if we continued this specific conversation inside the privacy of my executive office, where we can review the account details away from the general public." "I significantly prefer absolute transparency," Amelia responded, her voice cutting through Derek's attempt at damage control. "Public financial institutions that enjoy public charters should always operate with absolute public accountability." Behind the main counter, Sarah Martinez was frantically typing into her terminal, opening the internal executive directory with trembling hands. "Check the National Leadership Database right now," she whispered to the teller next to her. "I swear to God I have seen her photograph on our corporate login portal every single morning." But before anyone could stop her, Jessica doubled down on her catastrophic error. "Look, some people in this world simply need to learn their proper place." She snapped her professional filter, completely evaporating under the pressure. "This is a highly prestigious institution with elite standards to maintain, and we do not alter our rules for anyone." The toxic words hung in the absolute silence of the bank lobby like a physical weight, causing Derek Thompson to visibly wince and pull back from his manager. Marcus Williams closed his eyes for a brief, painful moment, recognizing that Jessica had just committed career suicide in front of dozens of active witnesses. Emma Chen's phone shook in her hands as the live stream comment section exploded into pure pandemonium, with the viewer count instantly surging past 15,000 concurrent users. Local news outlets and major financial commentators on social media were already downloading the footage, causing the phrase "banking while black" to trend nationwide within minutes. Amelia's composure never wavered. If anything, she seemed to grow even more formidable as the manager's hostility reached its peak. "My place." Amelia repeated the phrase slowly, thoughtfully, as if examining a strange specimen under a microscope. "And where exactly, Ms. Sterling, do you believe my proper place to be within the structure of this specific institution?" Jessica realized the magnitude of her verbal mistake the instant the words left her mouth, looking around the dead-silent lobby, only to see a wall of smartphone cameras pointed directly at her face. "I didn't mean it in that specific manner. That is completely not what I was trying to communicate." Jessica stammered, her authority evaporating into thin air. "Please do continue." Amelia insisted, her voice like velvet. "I am genuinely deeply curious about your professional assessment of my place in this bank." Derek stepped forward quickly, his hands raised in a gesture of absolute surrender. "Executive," he began, before stopping abruptly as he realized he didn't even know the customer's actual name because Jessica had refused to look at the documentation. "Richardson," Amelia supplied helpfully, her smile brilliant and sharp. "Dr. Amelia Richardson." "Dr. Richardson, I want to offer you my most profound and sincere apologies for this entire unfortunate misunderstanding," Derek said, his voice trembling. "Let us resolve this transaction immediately without any further delay." But Jessica, driven by an irrational desire to protect her crumbling authority, pushed her assistant manager aside. "Derek, I am the appointed manager of this branch, and I am handling this situation according to protocol. We cannot simply bend our security policies because a customer decides to create a public scene." "A scene?" Amelia's voice carried a note of genuine amusement. "Is the simple act of requesting my own legally earned currency from my own account considered creating a scene in your branch?" Marcus Williams shifted his position, his eyes fixed on Amelia with a profound sense of respect, as he realized this woman possessed a level of power that didn't require raising her voice. Amelia's phone buzzed again with an incoming call from Patricia Hendress, the chief operating officer of the entire banking corporation, followed immediately by a call from James Morrison, the chairman of the board. She deliberately declined both calls, allowing the devices to log the notifications. Jessica noticed the high-end encrypted corporate phone and the names flashing on the screen, and for the very first time a cold, paralyzing doubt began to creep into her mind. "Who exactly keeps calling your personal device?" Jessica asked, her voice losing its edge. "Just a few colleagues who are currently wondering why I am late for our 3 o'clock meeting upstairs," Amelia answered. The entire atmosphere within the premier First National Bank branch had undergone a massive, irreversible shift as the digital clock read 2:58 p.m. The other customers in the lobby had completely stopped pretending to look at their phones. They were now an active, unified audience watching a historic corporate reckoning. Emma's live stream viewer count was now rapidly approaching 20,000 people, and the bank's official corporate social media accounts were being flooded with thousands of angry messages, causing their stock price to experience a sudden sharp dip in afternoon trading. "Ma'am," Derek Thompson tried once more, his forehead covered in a fine sheen of sweat. "What can we do right this second to resolve this matter to your complete satisfaction?" Amelia checked her watch, seeing that she had exactly 2 minutes before the executive board meeting officially commenced. "Actually," she said, reaching into her elegant leather purse with a slow, deliberate movement, "I believe it is finally time to clarify the structural reality of this situation." She withdrew her premium leather wallet, but instead of producing another standard piece of identification, she pulled out a specialized heavy gold-embossed security keycard, the highly restricted pass used exclusively for executive elevator access to the top-floor boardrooms. Marcus Williams' eyes widened to the size of saucers. As a security professional, he recognized that specific card instantly because only the top 5 highest-ranking executives in the global corporation possessed one. "Ms. Sterling," Amelia said conversationally, her tone perfectly calm, "in your 15 years of employment with Premier First National, have you ever had the professional privilege of attending our annual global shareholder meeting?" "What? No. Why would a branch-level manager attend an executive event of that scale?" Jessica stammered, her confidence completely disintegrating as she stared at the gold card. "Out of simple curiosity, perhaps, or a desire for professional development," Amelia mused. "It is quite informative, and they always display the large portrait photographs of our executive leadership team on the main auditorium screens." Sarah Martinez had completely stopped pretending to process her cue. She was openly staring now, her hands over her mouth, as she looked from her computer monitor to the woman standing at the counter. "I know exactly who she is," Sarah whispered to her colleague, her voice shaking with terror. Amelia's phone rang for the 3rd time, and this time she slid her finger across the screen to answer it, placing it on speakerphone. "Patricia." "Yes, I am still downstairs in the main lobby," Amelia said into the microphone. "No, there is no need to delay the call to order. I am merely handling a small illustrative customer service matter. Could you please step down to the main branch floor for a brief moment? I think it is vital that we review our current branch demographics and consumer interaction protocols together." Amelia hung up the phone and offered Jessica a beautiful, serene smile. "My colleague will be joining us down here shortly," she noted. Derek's face had gone completely pale, all the color draining from his skin. "Which specific colleague did you just speak with, Dr. Richardson?" "Patricia Hendris," Amelia answered smoothly. "Perhaps you recognize her name. She serves as our Global Chief Operating Officer." The name echoed through the high-ceilinged marble lobby like a physical thunderclap, causing Jessica Sterling's knees to visibly buckle against her desk. Even the ordinary customers in the lobby recognized that name from national business television networks as one of the most powerful financial executives in the country. Marcus Williams stepped closer to Amelia, adjusting his posture into a formal protective stance, finally understanding the true identity of the woman he had been ordered to monitor. "Ma'am, are you?" Marcus began, his voice filled with awe. "Let us simply wait for Patricia to arrive." Amelia interrupted gently, raising a hand. "I am certain she will want to hear Ms. Sterling's detailed corporate explanation regarding our customer demographic filtering and our suspicious transaction profiling patterns." Jessica's mouth opened and closed soundlessly, her mind spinning into absolute panic as she tried to process the reality of what she had done. Derek Thompson was frantically pulling out his own tablet, trying to access the executive portal to confirm what his gut was already telling him. Emma's live stream was now completely breaking records, exploding past 25,000 concurrent viewers as the comment section became a blur of pure digital chaos. People were frantically Googling Dr. Amelia Richardson's name, and the search results were confirming the unbelievable truth. The woman standing at the counter didn't just have an account at the bank, she owned the entire institution. The private executive elevator at the far end of the marble lobby chimed softly, its heavy bronze doors sliding open with a smooth mechanical hiss. Patricia Hendris, the chief operating officer of Premier First National Bank, stepped out onto the floor. She was a tall, imposing woman in her mid-50s, with elegant silver hair, wearing a perfectly tailored charcoal power suit and carrying the unmistakable aura of someone accustomed to absolute command over thousands of employees. She looked across the expansive lobby, immediately taking in the massive crowd, the dozens of smartphones pointed at the counter, and the thick electric tension that filled the air. Her eyes locked onto Amelia instantly, and she quickened her pace, her heels clicking sharply against the stone. "Dr. Richardson," Patricia said, her voice carrying clearly across the silent room. "Is there an operational problem down here?" The lobby fell into an absolute breathless silence. Emma held her phone perfectly steady, capturing every single detail as 30,000 live viewers held their collective breath. Jessica Sterling's face cycled through confusion, sudden recognition, and absolute dawning horror within the span of 3 agonizing seconds. Patricia Amelia said calmly, her voice echoing off the marble, "I was simply attempting to complete a routine cash withdrawal from my personal account when Ms. Sterling here expressed some extraordinary professional concerns regarding the legitimacy of my presence." Patricia Hendris's expression hardened into a mask of pure corporate iron as she fully absorbed the scene before her. Her gaze swept over the crowd of customers with their phones raised, the live stream comments visible on Emma's screen, and the absolute panic radiating from her branch staff. "What specific kind of concerns could you possibly have regarding Dr. Richardson's account, Ms. Sterling?" Patricia asked, her voice dripping with the quiet authority of an executive who had spent 25 years managing multi-billion-dollar risks. Jessica opened her mouth, but only a dry clicking sound came out before she managed to find a weak version of her voice. "There was an exceptionally large physical cash withdrawal request, and under our standard operating protocols." $50,000. Amelia interjected helpfully, sliding the paperwork forward. "To complete my daughter's semester tuition payment at Oxford. I have provided my valid driver's license, my account codes, and my corporate credentials." Patricia's eyes scanned the documents on the counter for a fraction of a second before fixing on Jessica with a laser-like intensity that made the manager visibly tremble. "And the operational problem was what exactly large cash amounts frequently require an additional layer of managerial verification." Derek Thompson jumped in, his voice desperate as he attempted to shield his branch from total destruction, especially when there might be highly irregular transaction patterns associated with the file. Irregular patterns. Patricia's voice could have shattered the glass windows behind them. "In Dr. Richardson's primary corporate holding account." The title hit the room like a physical explosion. "Dr. Richardson. Not Miss, not Ma'am, but Doctor." the ultimate authority of the bank. Marcus Williams stepped back, adjusting his uniform cap with a look of profound realization. Sarah Martinez had her hand pressed firmly over her mouth, staring at Amelia in a state of absolute shock. The remaining customers in the lobby were furiously typing on their devices, realizing they were witnessing a historic corporate reckoning. Emma's live viewer count shattered 40,000 people with the digital world, realizing that a branch manager had just attempted to racially profile her own ultimate boss. I think Jessica whispered, her voice cracking, as tears of absolute humiliation began to well up in her eyes. There may have been a minor professional misunderstanding here today. "Oh, I believe the understanding within this room is remarkably clear," Amelia replied, her voice remaining perfectly serene, but carrying a weight that crushed Jessica's remaining composure. "You explicitly informed me that people like me do not typically maintain accounts at this prestigious institution. You suggested that I would be significantly more comfortable at the community branch across town. You openly questioned whether my personal funds were legitimate, explicitly suggesting they might be the proceeds of money laundering, international terrorism, or illicit narcotics. Each accusation was delivered with a surgical, undeniable precision. You also explicitly stated," Amelia continued, "that some people simply need to learn their proper place and that this institution has elite standards to maintain." "I never said those exact." Jessica began to lie desperately. "Actually, you absolutely did," Emma Chen called out from across the lobby, her voice shaking with immense excitement. "I have every single second of your exact words recorded on a live broadcast with 40,000 people watching it in real time." The realization that her career, her reputation, and her financial future had just vanished on a global live stream caused Jessica's face to turn a ghostly shade of white. Patricia Hendricks closed her eyes for a single heavy second, recognizing that this was a catastrophic public relations disaster that would reach the global board of directors before the hour concluded. Ms. Sterling Patricia said, her voice deadly quiet and completely devoid of mercy, "Are you even remotely aware of the identity of the woman you have been speaking to?" In this manner, Jessica looked desperately between Patricia and Amelia, the horrifying truth finally penetrating her consciousness. Amelia reached into her designer purse, withdrew her official corporate identification badge, and placed it flat on the marble counter. She slid it forward so everyone in the room could clearly read the bold, gold-embossed lettering, "Dr. Amelia Richardson, Chief Executive Officer and Chairperson of the Board, Premier First National Bank." The silence that followed was heavy and absolute. Derek Thompson made a soft wheezing sound like a balloon losing its air. Marcus Williams removed his security cap, entirely running a hand through his hair in absolute disbelief. Sarah Martinez let out an audible gasp that echoed in the quiet lobby. Jessica's knees completely gave way this time. She had to grab the edge of the stone counter with both hands to keep herself from collapsing onto the marble floor as the full magnitude of her actions crashed over her. Emma's live stream completely broke the platform's metrics, surging past 50,000 concurrent viewers as the comment section became a blur of celebration and corporate mockery. The CEO, the actual global CEO, "She literally owns the entire banking empire," the comments read. "This manager just tried to discriminate against her own ultimate employer. This is absolute career suicide in real time." Screenshots and short video clips were already flooding Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, causing the phrase "CEO denied service" to trend #1 nationwide. "Oh my God," Jessica whispered, the tears now flowing freely down her pale cheeks. "Oh my God, I had absolutely no idea who you were. You had no idea who I was?" Amelia repeated thoughtfully, her voice echoing with a profound moral authority. "But you knew enough about my appearance to make immediate assumptions regarding my character, my legitimacy, and my proper place in this society. You knew enough to suggest to a customer that they were a potential criminal simply because they did not fit your personal definition of wealth." Patricia stepped forward, her posture rigid. "Dr. Richardson, I am profoundly, deeply sorry for this disgraceful display. Patricia, this is absolutely not your personal fault," Amelia said, her tone remaining completely controlled. "This is what we call a profound, teachable corporate moment. Ms. Sterling, what you fail to realize is that today's executive board meeting includes a comprehensive, data-driven review of our customer service metrics across all regional branches." Jessica's face went from white to a sickly shade of green as she realized her corporate file was already open upstairs. "We have been quietly tracking consumer complaint patterns, analyzing demographic satisfaction scores, and reviewing internal security footage for the past quarter," Amelia explained, turning her attention to address the entire lobby, speaking clearly for Emma's live stream microphone. "In the past 6 months alone, this specific premium branch under your direct management has received 17 formal discrimination complaints from verified account holders. That is precisely 300% higher than our global corporate average across all territories. Furthermore, your customer retention metrics are 23% below our national target. And we have experienced over $2.3 million in high net worth account closures directly attributed to poor service experiences on this floor." The hard financial data hit Jessica like a series of physical blows, stripping away any remaining ability to defend her record. Derek Thompson was frantically looking down at his shoes, mentally calculating whether his own assistant manager position could be saved, while Marcus Williams wondered if he should immediately submit his resignation letter. "But here is the statistic that I find most illuminating." Amelia continued, her gaze locking onto Jessica's trembling form. 86% of those documented complaints originated from affluent customers of color who were subjected to identical verification delays. The pattern of systemic bias is so incredibly pronounced that our corporate legal department has already flagged this branch for federal regulatory review under the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. Jessica was now hyperventilating, her hands shaking uncontrollably against the counter. I think I need to sit down immediately," she whispered. "You will have an extraordinary amount of time to sit down in the coming weeks," Patricia interjected coldly. "Dr. Richardson, how would you like executive leadership to proceed with this matter?" Amelia looked down at her watch. It was now 3:02 p.m., and the official board meeting had commenced upstairs without her. "First, let us complete my personal transaction immediately, $50,000 in cash as originally requested," Amelia ordered. Sarah Martinez practically leaped across her station to process the request, her hands trembling violently as she counted out the $100 bills, triple-checking every single security strip to ensure absolute accuracy. Second, Amelia continued, her voice firm and unyielding. "I believe we need to have an immediate, intensive discussion upstairs regarding branch management structural bias and our consumer protection protocols." She turned toward Emma Chen, who was still holding her phone high, broadcasting to an audience that had now reached 65,000 people. "Young lady, I want to personally thank you for having the courage to document this entire interaction today," Amelia said with a warm smile. "This is precisely why transparency and digital accountability are so vital in modern commerce." Emma nodded enthusiastically, her mind completely blown by the historical event she had just witnessed. "Ms. Sterling, "You have a very clear choice to make right now," Amelia said, turning back to the manager. "We can choose to handle this matter through an immediate private executive intervention upstairs, or we can allow our Global Human Resources Department to initiate a formal termination investigation while this video continues to accumulate millions of views across the globe." Jessica looked around the room at the sea of hostile cameras, realizing she had absolutely zero leverage. "I will come upstairs," she whispered. As the group began to move toward the private executive elevator bank at the rear of the lobby, Marcus Williams stepped forward, hesitantly, his expression filled with deep regret. "Dr. Richardson, ma'am, I want to personally apologize to you for my silence today," Marcus said openly. "I should have spoken up the moment I saw how you were being treated." Amelia paused, looking at the young security officer with an expression of gentle guidance. "Marcus, what exactly did you witness on this floor?" "Today I saw an innocent woman being treated with profound unfairness and suspicion simply because of her demographic appearance," Marcus answered honestly. "And what exactly did you choose to do about it in that moment?" Marcus's shoulders sagged under the weight of his own conscience. "Nothing, ma'am. I simply followed the manager's direct orders because I was afraid of losing my employment status." Amelia offered him a reassuring smile that completely changed his perspective. "The next time you find yourself in this situation, Marcus, I want you to remember that standing up for human dignity and doing the right thing is infinitely more important than blindly executing bad orders from an abusive authority figure." Marcus straightened his posture, a newfound sense of pride entering his eyes. "Next time, I will absolutely remember that, Dr. Richardson. I give you my word." The executive elevator arrived with a soft chime, its doors opening to reveal a spacious, wood-paneled interior. Amelia turned back one final time to address the crowded lobby of stunned customers and staff. "Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your immense patience during this administrative delay today," she said clearly. "This has been a highly educational experience for every single individual involved in this institution, and I assure you that our commitment to your dignity remains absolute." The heavy doors slid shut, separating the lobby from the CEO, the COO, and the manager as they ascended toward the 47th floor conference room, where a massive corporate transformation was about to begin. Emma Chen finally terminated her live broadcast after 2 hours, with the final video metrics showing over 100,000 concurrent viewers and millions of interactions across social media. 6 weeks later, the premier First National Bank branch looked completely different. New, prominent customer-first signage was installed at every station, stating that equal dignity was a non-negotiable right for every consumer. Marcus Williams had been promoted to Regional Director of Customer Experience, tasked with training all security staff on anti-bias intervention protocols. Sarah Martinez was appointed as the new interim branch manager, implementing monthly community forums to ensure absolute accountability. Jessica Sterling was placed on a mandatory unpaid 3-month suspension, during which she was required to complete an intensive one-on-one bias remediation program and work directly with civil rights organizations to understand the impact of her actions. Dr. Amelia Richardson's handling of the crisis became a legendary case study at the Harvard Business School, demonstrating to the entire corporate world that true executive power isn't about immediate punishment. It is about using an institutional crisis to force permanent systemic cultural change.